Alright, hello and welcome to this video on lighting and light mass. So in this video we are going to deal with getting the best results of lighting. So we've gone in, we have created light map UVs for everything, and we have a fairly decent light map UV resolution set on everything. We have our lights placed in an interesting way. Oh, looks like missed something there. I actually missed all these corners. So let's just add these. I'll leave this one out in the corner. I think that actually will show some interest or give some interest. And again over here, let me just duplicate this guy and this one. Now we've talked about dynamic lights and stationary lights. Really all of my lights in this scene can be static. I don't really need any of it to be dynamic. So let's just set them all, at least these ones for the time being, to static. And let's start to light. So the first thing we need when lighting is what's called a light mass importance volume. So I'll just type light mass, and we've got this light mass importance volume. I'll drag this volume in, go into my top view, and I'll position this kind of in the center here and really just scale it up. I want to make sure that my playable area is in this volume. Okay. Basically what this is, you know, by default, or just in general, and you know, this scene, my scene here goes on forever. Okay. So we've got, you know, kind of infinite, it goes on for infinity. And what I want to do is I really want to say or tell light mass, hey, look, if a ray bounces off into nothingness, and you know, basically stop calculating it, or run it for a little bit longer, or do some quick calculations on it, and then go ahead and call it quits. So the light mass importance volume says, okay, this is where everything needs to be as high quality as possible. This will also reduce our build times, but also, I mean, it should increase our quality a bit. So we've got that. The other thing I'm going to do real quick is, let me just get this door in here just so we kind of close off our area. Actually, let me reset that location and make sure my snapping is turned on. And let's place our door there. Okay, and got another door there. All right, one other thing I'm going to do with my door is, this is kind of more of a, I don't want to say a hero piece, but I'm going to light the door up so that it's got a bit more of an importance here. So let's duplicate this one as well, bring it over there. All right, so we've got a nice little enclosed scene. Okay, so we've got our light mass importance volume. Let's go. So far all we know is to go to lighting quality, and you know, we've got preview, medium, high, and production. Okay, but along with this, we have our light mass settings. So if I come over here and click on my map, my world settings here, I'll open up my world settings next to my details panel. I can also access this by going to settings and world settings. Okay, so again, if I close this, settings, world settings, I get it, or I can go to my root node here, double click, and I get these settings. So what I want to do is I want to expand light mass and light mass settings. Okay. So I'm going to go over the static level lighting scale, the number indirect lighting bounces, skylight bounces, indirect lighting quality, and indirect lighting smoothness. These are really the settings that control the look of our lighting along with the lighting quality presets of preview, medium, high, and production. Okay, so by default, let me just grab let's grab this screen here. Let's maybe do this. Let's do an angle here where we've kind of got all of this in view. I'll set that to a bookmark. And let's go to lighting only. Okay, so we can see a couple things. We've got some splotchiness all around here. Most of that was probably due to the fact that I didn't have these lights here before. So there's not a lot of light. And where we have a lot of light, it's kind of clearer and cleaner, but we can still see the splotchiness over here. We can also see this difference in these two over there. So let's let's go back to here, and let's just do a default build at preview and with default settings. This will be kind of our quickest and dirtiest. So it took about 10 seconds to bake. Sometimes you gotta like wiggle the screen. There we go. And there's that. So let's go ahead and grab a screenshot. Pretty bad. Looks pretty bad. Okay. So let's start to clean this up. And I'm just going to show the example of the difference on medium. So we had 10 seconds on preview. Medium should take a bit longer. Okay, looks like it's going to take about twice as long. Got about 20 seconds. Okay. Let's go ahead and just wiggle my screen. There we go. Another high-res screenshot. And let's open these up and take a look. Okay, looks like it's these guys. Yep. All right, so there we are on preview and medium. So big difference just on those two. I typically never use preview. I'll really just try to use medium as my preview. But let's do it again. Go up to high, and I don't know, that took about 20 seconds. This probably take about 40. I'm just assuming we're kind of doubling it every time we go up. About halfway. I guess we're going to be around 30. So that's not too bad. Not too big of a difference there. Just going to close that. Wait for this. Hit 4. I'm also going to hit the F9 key on a Windows keyboard to pull that image up, or to do that high-res screenshot. Oh, this is not going to be good. Is it this guy? Screenshot 22. And just delete these so we can kind of key through these. preview, medium, high. So high looks different. Don't know if that looks better. Looks a bit different. But let's go up to production and go ahead and hit build. So these kind of have some presets. And what were we at? We're at 30. So let's see how much higher production is from high. All right, so I do want to just give you a general overview of what these like preview, medium, high presets do and the time costs associated with them. So this should scale based on the size of our level. This processing mappings, this is it generating the light maps. So if I have a bunch of small light maps, this should take less time. If I have a bunch of large light maps, that will take more time. So if I went and upped the resolution of all my lights, all my light maps, this time would go up. But wow, at the moment, yeah, preview a lot higher. So 70, we're at 30, so that's more than 2 times the time cost, okay? But if we look at this, this is starting to get good. Okay, this isn't great, but we've got just a much better, cleaner calculation. And always, we want to check lit, because this really we need to kind of consider our base colors, but I'm going to stick with just the lighting only so we can really just see what's happening with the lighting. Okay, I also noticed that's missing, which means that oh, wait a minute. All of those are missing. Okay, sorry. Let me grab these. Okay, I was like, why does that not line up? Because I rotated those way wrong. Okay, we're a little bit off here. Let me turn on my snapping and get that right on the seam there. Turn my snapping back up to 10. Looks like I'm a little close. Just going to turn this off and kind of eyeball this. Yep, that looks good. All right, for the most part, we should be good now. Since we're doing this, let's just add in all of these. So I'm going to go into my top view. I'll duplicate this light, rotate it. I really wish I could have just rotated that 45 degrees. Let's turn that rotation on and rotate it there. There we go. Now I want to just push it in. I'm in world space right now, so I'm going to switch from world space to local space and just push this light back into that housing and eyeball the placement there. Let's go ahead and let's go back to world. Let's duplicate this guy. Let's rotate him 90 degrees, and that should push right back into there. Okay, all right, cool. All right, let's go back here. And all right, so we've got our medium. Sorry, I don't think I had this off screen. So this is at 70 seconds, okay? And I think our high, I forget what the high was, but. All right, so let's try to clean this up. So let's go to our world settings. And the first thing I'm going to do is my bounces, okay? So if we read on our bounce here, it says number of light bounces to simulate for the lights. 0 is direct light only. So that's just going to be one hit, not a bounce, but one hit. So if I turn this to 0, and I'm going to, let's drop our quality here to high, just so this builds a little bit faster. We've kind of got that idea now of what the preview, medium, high, and production look like, or the differences in those. So we kind of know what to expect. So I'll drop that down so we get faster light bakes. I just want to pull up my swarm here. And 6 seconds. Okay, so again, we just have, this looks a little muddy. There we go. But here's the direct lighting only. So the light ray goes from the source, hits once, that's it. Okay, if we set this back to 1, let's build that. And we took 6 seconds here. I don't know how much another bounce is going to cost, but let's see. 6 seconds. Quite a bit more time. Okay, if we hover over this again, it says, whoops. So we have 1 bounce right now. So if I hover over this, bounce 1 takes the most time to calculate and contributes the most visual quality, followed by bounce 2, and successive bounces don't really affect build times but have a much lower visual cost. So basically what this is saying is bounce 1 is the most expensive to calculate, gives you the most visual fidelity. So if I kind of click in here, there we go, we got our bounce 1. Now it went from 6 seconds to 22 seconds, so almost 3 times. Let's go ahead and we'll set this to 2. Hit build. So we are at 22 seconds. It shouldn't take that much more time to calculate this second bounce, like they said. So this should be probably just a second or two after 22, I'm assuming. Okay, I'd say now we're calculating that second bounce. That's a few seconds. Okay, so if we went from 22 to 31 seconds, here's the result, a bit brighter overall once these light maps pop in. And then default 3, let's build there. So we'll get the result that we had before, but I want to illustrate something now. So once we get this bounce, I'm going to take a screenshot, and then I'm going to change this bounce from 3 to 100. Okay, I want to kind of show you that setting it up to 100 doesn't add that much more time, nor does it really add much of a quality difference. I typically leave mine set to 10 or 100. It really doesn't matter too much. I forgot what the time was, but this took 32 seconds. Just gonna wiggle our viewport here. So there we go. So I'm going to take a screenshot with F9. Okay, and then I'm going to set this from 3 to, we could crank it all the way up to 10. It stops at 10. I'm going to override it though to 100. Okay, and again, we're at 32 seconds. Let's just say 33. Okay, so 33 seconds. And this will probably take less than 40 seconds set at 100. But it'll also not look, you know, that much more different. Oh, look at that. Didn't really take any more time. Took like the same amount of time at 100. And when we close this, kind of move around in the window. Let's take a screenshot. Let's bring this guy up. Okay, so here's 100 bounces, 3 bounces, 100. That looks kind of different. I'm going to delete all these screenshots because I think these screenshots are messing us up, the number there. Let's take a screenshot real quick. Let's reset that, hit build, and I really want to see the comparison because I don't believe that that should be that long. Also, why? There we go. Why wasn't that? All right, I'm going to change the screenshot's name to 1, although that might mess our screenshot up already. Okay, so there's 3. Let's grab a screenshot. All right, so here's 3 bounces and 100. Yeah, maybe that was. Okay, so I leave mine, at 100. 10, 100, whatever. All right, next is number of skylight bounces. So we don't have a skylight in here. So this really doesn't apply to us, but it's the same. It would be kind of the same as what we have with these bounces here. All right, indirect lighting quality. So this one, first thing it says is warning. Setting this higher to 1 will greatly increase build times, and it will. So that, along with the static level lighting scale, also says warning. Setting this to lower than 1 will greatly increase build time. So this kind of tells us the scale of our world. This is set to be kind of at real world scale. But what I want to do is I want to get more fine control over this. And the way that I kind of explain this is this. Let's just say that right now that the scale of our rays is like the size of a tennis ball. Okay, so if a tennis ball kind of comes over here, actually I can do this. Let's just grab a sphere. Okay, let's grab a sphere. And yeah, if this is a ray, if this ray gets shot from this light over here, and let's say it comes over here and it hits. So the first thing it's going to hit with is it's going to hit this, it's going to hit the edge right here. Okay, and it's not really gonna go in further. The ray is going to stop here, and we're not going to get detail kind of in the corners. So by changing the static level lighting scale, if I change this to 2, it would be like kind of scaling this up to 2. So scale this ball up. Now, my ray would hit there, or it might even hit the floor first because it's bigger, and I'm not even going to get the detail on this pillar. But if I bring the scale down to 0.1, well, now this ball is so much smaller, and it won't hit, it'll go all the way in, and now it can, let me turn off my snapping here, and it'll hit and kind of get into this crevice more. Okay, so that's really what it is, kind of like, or that's the way that I like to describe it. But by lowering this scale, we get more fine control. So we were at 30 seconds here. I'm going to drop this down from 1 all the way down to 0.1. Okay, and let's hit build. So 33 seconds is kind of what we get with default settings on high. I think we're on the high preset here. Yeah. Okay. So again, this is going to take a lot longer to calculate, but we should get a much better result. Sort of. We'll see. We're going to get a better result. It's not going to be better completely, but we need to adjust another setting after that. So we can already see is we're probably at 33 seconds. So yeah, we're past 33, and we're at 21%. So you can see 30, 33, we're about halfway. We'll be about halfway at 60. So this is 2 times as long. 90 will be 3 times as long. And we're easily hitting 3 times as long. We're probably going to go 4 times as long. About to 120. I'm guessing. Who knows? So 4 times as long. About 4 times as long. Okay, and let's see the result. Okay, there we go. So let's hit F9, grab a screenshot, and go check out our screenshot. So here it is, right? We set that level lighting scale way down, and we took 4 times as long, and holy cow, that looks way worse. But it doesn't look worse. If we think about it, we're kind of seeing all this splotchiness, and this is really detail getting further in and getting us a better result. Okay, but the problem is our indirect lighting quality is set really low. So whenever we adjust our static level lighting scale, we also need to increase the indirect lighting quality. They say that this number should equal 1, so when multiplied. So if I type in 0.1, I really need to set this to 10. I am not going to do that. That is going to, we're at 90 seconds. This would take a whole lot longer. So what I'm going to do is I'll bring this up to 0.5, and then I'll just set this indirect lighting quality to 2. Okay, and let's go ahead and build. Now we've lowered the static level lighting scale, or reduced that static level lighting scale from 0.1 to 5, so that should give us some time back. But we've also doubled the indirect lighting quality, which should take some more time to calculate. So I'm guessing we'll be probably right around the same 100 110 mark here. I'm guessing. I really have no idea, but we shall see. We're at 20% here, at 30. This might actually take a little bit longer. We'll see. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. We're actually getting pretty good. We're close to halfway, and we're at 50. It'll be right around the same. Yeah, 110. I think we were 111 or something. Let's put it right there. 111.9. Let's see if we take this long. It looks like it's actually going to go faster. So just by decreasing the level, static level lighting scale doesn't give us better results right off the bat. We have to decrease that and increase the indirect lighting quality. And there we should have something that's better. Let me delete this screenshot. So we've got this screenshot, and then let's grab this screenshot. And here is the lowered scale with the higher indirect lighting quality. Here is the regular indirect lighting quality and scale. So we're getting a more accurate calculation. But we can simply, let's just do a build. Actually, this is our base, right? Yeah, I think this is our base build. So I don't need to do a rebuild. Let's cancel that. And we took about 30 seconds. We take 30 seconds to do the default, right? So let's now just look at indirect lighting quality by itself. So let's set this to 2, and let's look at the build times. Let me also delete that screenshot, and this is our baseline here at 33 seconds. So like I said, lowering the static level lighting scale is going to look like we kind of get a messier result, but we have to raise this in conjunction with that. But this indirect lighting quality, this should just give us a better result as we raise this. Okay, and like I said, 33 was our baseline. This is going to go, roughly double that. But let's see the result. Okay, let's grab a screenshot. So here is our indirect lighting quality at 2 and at 1. 2, I'm sorry, 1. So you can see the bounce light is more defined here at the higher level. Lower level, higher level. Lower level, higher level. It's just giving us a more accurate calculation. Now it's getting darker. Let's raise this to something like 5 and hit build. And this might even get darker. I'm not saying give me more indirect lighting here. What I'm saying is calculate that indirect lighting quality more precisely. So if I've got things blocking my indirect lighting, it's going to, get darker. Whereas if I left this lower, it might be brighter. So this isn't really controlling, more or less light or whatever. We're just kind of getting better, more accurate calculations. So just by setting that to 5, I'm only at 7%, and we're taking 33. We're at 33 seconds. So this is going to take a bit. So let's hover over this and let's read this. So it says can be used to increase the global illumination solver sample count in order to get higher quality. So again, just more accurate indirect lighting calculations. Then it says it can be useful to reduce the indirect lighting smoothness somewhat to around 0.75 when increasing quality to get defined indirect shadows. Note this can't affect compression artifacts, UV seams, or other texture-based artifacts. So that's just saying this doesn't, we're still bound by the light map resolution. Some of the artifacting can always come from the size of our light map, our light maps and their texture resolutions. So let's jump from 2 to 5, see what we get. And it's basically saying it might get smoothed out here in the indirect light, so to reduce the indirect lighting smoothness a bit. So we are at 105 seconds. There we go, indirect lighting quality at level 5. Okay, that's actually looking pretty good. Let's take a screenshot. Let's compare that with the last one. So we've got indirect lighting set to 5. Indirect lighting set to 2. So if we look over here on this pillar, here's 2, kind of splotchy, a little dark, undefined. When we go here to 5, smoothed out, higher, better calculations. Even these guys up here are getting just a better, kind of more refined. Down here especially, this is looking really splotchy at 2. When we bring that up to 5, looks nice and good. Let's go ahead and, all this stuff's looking a bit better. Everything's looking a lot cleaner up in the up in there. Why is this getting lit? Oh well. All right, let's go back here. And all right, let's take the indirect lighting smoothness. Let's do what they say. Let's bring it down to 0.75, and we can do a build. So this doesn't really, indirect lighting smoothness factor to apply to indirect lighting. This is useful in some lighting conditions when light mask cannot resolve accurate indirect lighting. 1 is the default smoothness. Higher values like 3 smooth out indirect lighting more, but at the cost of indirect shadows losing detail. So if we have any of the indirect shadows, we really are going to kind of lose some detail because they're just going to get blurred out, really. That's all that this smoothing is it's just really a blur, kind of a blur operation that's going to be done on the light map to smooth that stuff out. I don't know if this is going to add much time. I forget where we were, maybe 105 if I remember correctly. Looks like it's going to take about the same time, so I don't think that the indirect lighting smoothness really adds or subtracts. I think it is just a factor. The smoothness happens regardless, so it takes the same amount of time. Because yeah, look, we're at 104. We're going to be at 105. We're basically exactly where we were. It's just the strength of that smoothness. So let's check this out. Grab a screenshot. Okay, indirect lighting smoothness dropped, raised, dropped, raised, dropped. I really don't like that. So I'm going to put that back to 1. Okay, so right now I'm going to do kind of my ultimate settings. So at this, I'm completely done. I'm ready to turn this thing in or post this to ArtStation. I'm going to set this to 0.1. My indirect lighting bounces, I'll crank up all the way to 10. I don't have a skylight, so I'll leave that. Indirect lighting quality, that's going up to 10 as well. Indirect lighting smoothness, let's do 0.8. We'll lower it a little bit. Let's do 0.85. And I will also uncheck compress light maps because that will not compress my light maps. And also, let's bring this up to production. So we were dealing with build times of 110, 115 seconds. That was kind of the highest that we got, or the longest that we took to calculate. This is going to take much longer, probably a few hundred seconds, if not even more than that. So let's kind of see where this goes. While we are waiting for this, because we will be waiting for this, let's go ahead and pop over to the Unreal Academy. So I'm just going to Google Unreal Academy, and then this unrealengine.com online learning courses. You're going to be asked to sign in. You'll sign in with your Epic Games account. Once you're signed in, click on Get Started, and it will take you to the page. Okay, so we've got home, we've got content library here. You'll have achievements, so all the classes that you've kind of taken, and badges and points and all that. And then you can just kind of hide that menu here with the claps. So I'm going to go to content library, and what we can do is we can filter courses, learning paths, recently viewed, popular categories, recommended for you, favorites, so on and so forth, right? So if you have some favorites, which looks like I do. I don't know why I favorited that. I don't really. You can check that stuff out. Recommended for you. Got these guys recommended for me apparently. Popular categories. Recently viewed. I view a lot of these all the time. Learning paths. So here we have learning paths. So becoming an architectural visualizer. So if you want to get into that, you can go into here. And what this is going to do is this is going to have a bunch of courses that are kind of curated for you. So there's a lot of courses here, and all of this is free. All right, look at that. That's a lot. Now, so Introduction to Unreal Engine. So there's, you know, that many classes in here. They're not long. None of these are long. They're like 5 to 15 to 20 minutes max. Creating an architectural interior real-time project. So here's another group of videos, a bit longer on that. But these are all going to be related to architectural visualization. Okay, I go back to the content library and we preview learning paths. You know, getting started in Unreal is a great place for you guys to start. Constructing believable environments is another good learning path, and introduction to principles of real time. So I'd say these two definitely check out. So getting started in Unreal, your first hour with Unreal, introduction to Unreal Engine, comprehending projects and file structures. These are all very, very short videos. Building better pipelines. This is great. I think this is really something that kind of you should watch later. But this Building Better Pipelines is a fantastic series with lots of really good info in it. So that was the Getting Started. Intro to Real-Time Principles. This is great. Real-Time Rendering Fundamentals. And an in-depth look at real-time rendering. So these two are really like kind of good videos to understand what's kind of going on with real-time rendering under the hood. So the other thing is we can go to Content Library and we can check on we can come under Topics here. And if I go to Engine Concepts, we can come under here under Lighting the Environment. Okay, and this is going to be all of the videos that have to do with anything in Unreal with lighting. So we've got studio lighting, preparing engineering data, Sketchfab to Unreal fundamentals, understanding global illumination. So this one is great. I just wanted to favorite that. Why did it do that? Sorry, let's go back. Engine Concepts, Lighting the Environment. Okay, it was favorited at least. Understanding the essential concepts of lighting. That one's okay. I like this one. And then the other one that's really great is learning lighting essential concepts and effects. This one is kind of paramount. So I checked that on. Man, the site's not the best, but you know what? It's free and it's made by the people that make this. So the content is fantastic. The site, not so much. Oh my gosh, where am I going? Engine Concepts. Okay, back to lighting. Then the last one is the Introduction to Global Illumination. So these three. But now I can come to favorites, and I've got those at least in my favorites. I really need to start populating my favorites. Okay, let's take a look at where our lighting is. We're at 7%. Okay, at 400 seconds. All right, I have I've got a pretty good machine here. I have a GPU, an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti. So you know, real-time ray tracing GPU. So that's going to be good when we're in Engine. But the light baking is all based on your CPU. So I have a Ryzen 9 3900, which has 12 cores, so 24 virtual cores. So that's what we're seeing here. So I've got 24 of my CPU's cores here, or virtual cores, are kind of baking and doing this process. So I basically am able to dish out 8 jobs at a time. I'm sorry, 8. I don't know why I said 8. 12, 24. So if we go to the settings here, we should have advanced. How do I get those advanced settings? Show developer menu. I think this is it. Let's do true. Oh, there we go. That's, oops, sorry. Developer settings, here we go. So remote agent, no, that's not it. So local jobs, default processor count. So like I said, I have a 24 core processor. Here it's saying, okay, it's going to allow me to use 22 of those processors because it really needs to save up, it's going to free up 2 processors to run the OS and everything. If I've got some remote, if I had a remote machine, it would use all 24 because it wouldn't have to kind of run, it can just, I'm also running the editor at the same time. So that's basically what it is. It's leaving 2 cores to run the editor. Okay, so let's see. We are still we're at 600 seconds. So again, you guys have like just depending on your CPU, if you've got a quad core CPU, that means you have 4 cores, and typically those are all kind of dual. So that would be 4 core would be 8 cores. So you should have 8 threads here, but it's only going to use 6 if you have 8. So it's always going to leave some to run the editor and the OS and other things. So again, the more cores you have, the faster this process goes. So if you had like a quad core with like 8 cores but are only using 6 cores, I've got 22. It's going to be 4 times longer than this. So these settings really kind of exponentially make this thing go longer. So I think what I'll do is I will freeze this and come back when it's finished.